Good morning, everybody. We are live. This is the meeting for the Place and Resources Overview Committee. My name's Carol Jones. The Vice Chairman today is Les Fry. I'd like to start off, please, just with a roll call. If you can just say that you're present when I call your name, that'll be lovely. I can see Les Fry, so I won't call him. Councillor Batstone.
Here, present.
Thank you. Councillor Coombs.
Morning, Chairman.
Morning. Councillor Hope.
Good morning, Chair.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor Jesperson.
Morning, Chair, present.
Thank you. Councillor Apothecary.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
Present.
And this is Councillor Rowe's first meeting of this committee, so I hope you thoroughly enjoy it. Councillor Starr.
Present, Chair, thank you.
Councillor Tarr.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Everybody's present. We also have the following officers attending today. We have John Selgren, who's the Executive Director of Place, Aidan Dunn, Executive Director of Corporate Development, Lindsay Watson, our Senior Democratic Services Officer, and Kerry Oliver and George Dare, who are our producers for the meeting. If I could just remind everybody, please, to keep cameras off and microphones muted until you're invited to speak. And can you please just use the chat box just to put RTS in, and Councillor Fry will call who's actually going to speak first and second, and there we go. Right. OK, agenda item 1 is apologies.
Chairman, can you just remind you about the statement regarding virtual meeting?
Oh, there, I've let you all down already. I'm so sorry. It is my first meeting. OK, the statement re virtual meetings. In the light of the situation with COVID, the case rates, the Dorset Council's Chief Executive, Matt Prosser, has exercised his delegated powers to continue to hold virtual informal committee meetings. And where a decision is required, committee members will express a minded to decision in respect of recommendations to officer reports, with decisions being taken under officer delegated authority in the light of minded to decisions expressed by members in virtual meetings. Any decisions or recommendations required will be confirmed by the appropriate officer at the conclusion of the committee's debate on an agenda item. Thank you. Sorry about that. Let's moving on. We've done apologies. Item 2, declarations of interest. Any received? I hear nothing. 3, chairman's update. Well, I've only been in the post for a matter of hours. I just wanted to say a big thank you to Councillor Les Fry for chairing this committee for the last couple of meetings. He did a magnificent job, and I'm just really grateful that he's remaining as vice. And I would also just like to say thank you to Darryl for starting this all off, and I think he was a great chairman and will be missed. So that's me. Public participation, item 4. Do we have any questions or statements at all?
No, Chairman, we didn't receive any questions this time round.
We'll move on to item 5. Any questions from members?
No, we didn't receive any questions from members this time round either.
Right, item 6, we're skating through this. We are now looking at the Dorset Highway Skidding Resistance Strategy, the review of this year. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Jack Williams, our Head of Highways, who will present this. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The paper that I'm presenting today is the Highway Skidding Resistance Strategy Review 2021. My request to the committee is that you provide your support for the paper. With your support, the portfolio holder for Highways, Travel and Environment, Councillor Ray Bryan, will make an executive decision that Dorset Council will follow the included skid resistance strategy and operational guidance as policy. The paper before you is a technical paper, and it goes into far more detail than most highways procedures normally do. In most cases, we are able to follow established national guidance when we set out our approaches. However, in the case of highway skid resistance, exact guidance is not given for a local level. Instead, national guidance sets out how highway authorities should determine the risk of skidding-related incidents, and then sets levels that are appropriate to trunk roads. It is therefore necessary for us to follow the guidance in terms of determining skid resistance, but set our own risk levels against this. This means that the Dorset Highway Skidding Resistance Strategy document is very detailed. So while I'm happy to answer any questions on the specifics, I don't intend to go into the detail during this introduction. The most significant change in this document compared to previous versions is that it proposes we lower the point at which we introduce measures to improve skidding related safety. This is a positive step, and we expect to see the number of collisions on our roads reduce as a result of this action. There are two key reasons for proposing that we take greater steps to improve skidding related safety on our network. The first is to improve highway safety in line with Dorset Council's priority of staying safe and well. The second is that following national benchmarking, the proposals will see us taking a similar approach to other comparable highway authorities. We believe that the proposed strategy represents measures that are reasonably practicable to reduce the skidding related risks to highway users. This paper specifically looks at skid risks on our roads when they're not subject to additional external factors. So it's looking at skid resistance of the standard road surface. It does not cover skidding related to any other factors such as ice, debris or oils. We've assessed the proposals to have a neutral impact on the climate, and to all protected characteristic groups. The proposals are likely to have a positive impact on health and well-being. Increasing the amount of work we do to improve skid resistance will have additional costs. These are capital costs and will be funded externally to Dorset Council by the Department for Transport. However, any additional costs are expected to be below the threshold of a key decision. Having evaluated the risks associated with these proposals, the level of the risk has been identified as medium. Thank you, Chair.
You're muted, Chair.
Sorry, do we have any non-committee members who might like to speak first?
No, I think it's all members at the moment wishing to speak at the moment, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Roland Tarr.
I'd just like to say I've read right through this report. I'm a techie sort of person, so I like that sort of thing. I think it's an excellent report and that we should accept it or recommend it, or whatever we want to do about it. Yeah. It's a first class piece of work. Thank you to all the people involved with it, especially Jack for getting it all together and presenting it to us.
Thank you. Well said, Councillor Tarr.
Councillor Maria Rowe.
Yeah, Councillor Rowe.
Hello, thank you. Yes, I'd like to agree. Thank you for a very detailed and important paper. And because it is so technical, I just have a few questions. So it relates to number 3, defining the SCRIM survey network. That the maintenance engineer can request a survey as a result of reported incidents. And the wording, where possible, such sites will be appended to the routine annual SCRIM survey. Can you just explain what where possible means? Would there be occasions when it would be difficult to add it to the SCRIM survey?
I think it's very unlikely that we would find difficulties in adding it to the SCRIM survey. The way that SCRIM survey takes place is that it happens in a different season each year. So it may be that depending on where we are within that cycle, we couldn't immediately get it into that year's cycle. But over the course of a couple of years, I see very little chance that we wouldn't be able to include something like that into the survey.
So you would normally include it? That would be the normal process?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And I've just got one more quick question, which is 3.3. The investigatory levels shall be set for each part of the SCRIM survey network by suitably qualified and experienced persons only. Can you tell me how many years experience you would expect the officer to have?
Yeah, I suppose that goes into the HR details of job descriptions, and we wouldn't normally specify a number of years because potentially that's discriminatory. but we
Okay.
would expect people to be suitably qualified. And in order for them to be suitably qualified, in most instances, they would need to have a degree and have professional membership with a professional organisation, institution. And to combine both of those, it normally means you're looking at an absolute minimum time, I suppose, of probably around 6 or 7 years.
Thank you. I thought that might be the case, but just wanted to check. Thank you so much. That's all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Councillor Jesperson.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. I like Councillor Tarr. I read this paper with interest, and like Councillor Tarr, I enjoy this level of detail which we get presented to us by the highways officers. I think that one of the things that I would just like to say about this is that when we get a paper of this level of detail and complexity and technical assurance before us, it serves to remind us how difficult and how complex the work that our highways officers are required to do. And sometimes we have conversations with our residents who say, well, why don't they just? And, you know, why don't they just get round and do this or do that? And I think it's timely to see a paper like this now and again to remind us what is involved with the work that our highways officers do. And I think this is an excellent report, and I think Councillor Tarr has proposed it. And so I would very much like to second that we support the recommendation to send this guidance for this report forward to the portfolio holder for confirmation. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Chairman, sorry to just cut in. It's Lindsay, Senior Democratic Service Officer. Can I just check, because I didn't minute Councillor Tarr as having proposed it, so perhaps just for the record, could we confirm that was the intention?
Putting words in his mouth. I apologise, Councillor Tarr.
Thank you. Councillor Tarr, could you please just, I did hear you, but could you just reaffirm, please?
I would confirm that I did propose it, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Jesperson is seconding. I can see in the chat bar we've got Councillor David Taylor who would like to speak. Normally we would only take non-committee members at the beginning, and we have gone through the debate, but this is an important subject. So Councillor Taylor, would you like to just come in now?
Well, my words are actually congratulations on the report, because it's absolutely fantastic. And can I thank you for your work you've done on our roads locally, because the A37 has been a major problem for us. And I'm just wishing my support to you to say thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you very much. We don't have anybody else wishing to speak. I would just like to come in on a couple of points, if I may. We don't actually mention the number of people that have been killed or severely injured on our roads, but presumably you're going to be benchmarking what happens from now on against those figures. Is that correct?
That's quite right.
Right.
We review. I decided one of the difficult parts of our job is reviewing killed and seriously injured statistics, and that research and investigation goes back over many years, and we'll particularly look to see what the impacts of this change in policy do in relation to that.
Yes, and because this was first, the policy first came in 2017, did we see a reduction after 2017 from previous years at all, do you know?
The previous policy was obviously a revamp
with the previous council. Yes.
We've seen a reduction in killed and seriously injured during the pandemic, and I think that's probably because there were fewer people on the roads. Yeah. There is a gradual trend in terms of reducing numbers of collisions, and particularly the severity of collisions. Quite whether that's enough data to specifically link it to this policy is difficult. What we do is we review every incident with the police where there's been a killed or seriously injured occurrence, and we look to see what lessons can be learned from that. What I should say is that I don't think I've ever seen one of those reports where it said that poor skid resistance was the primary cause of the incident. The vast majority of the root causes is behaviour, so we certainly obviously want to try and see if we can improve people's behaviours on our roads. But yes, no, nonetheless, I mean, if you've had a collision because you failed to stop, skid resistance is probably going to have some impact on that.
That's lovely, thank you. And I think that I just noticed that we don't do a survey season in the winter months. Is there any reason why we don't? Because I would have thought the roads would be wetter and so on, but is that not the thing that can be done in the winter season at all?
Yeah, I won't delve into being too techie on this, but essentially the system that goes around to test for the skid resistance, it looks a bit like a bin lorry with a trolley wheel at the front, and then the skid resistance is measured from this trolley wheel, and so it needs to be in conditions which are essentially neutral. So it's a road in the first instance probably has to be quite dry, and you can't have salt on it and detritus, leaves and those sorts of things, because it would give it an incorrect result. So the water for the system is actually applied by the vehicle, so we wouldn't test necessarily on a wet road because we can control the amount of water which is put down for the test itself. Hence it has to be during spring, summer and autumn.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Chair. Jack, a good report. I would agree with all the other comments that have been said so far. I've had the experience and opportunity to go on a skid pan and drive under testing conditions with the oil and water, and it's an interesting mix when you're driving a car around. Where do you get all your data from for the crashes? Do you get anything clearly from the police? Do they come from other sources at all? Because there may be accidents with damage only to either roadside furniture or machinery that don't go through to the police.
Certainly we've got a couple of criteria to go into that, but the killed and seriously injured data certainly comes from police. We also have a separate collision reporting tool where we ask members of the public to report all incidents, and then we can investigate those according to what the root cause was or suggested was.
Do you have any links with the insurance companies at all?
Only in terms of being more reactive. I'm not. We don't have a proactive relationship with the insurance companies.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you very much. I'm not showing anybody else wishing to speak. So we've had a proposer and a seconded. Is everybody in favour, or if there's anybody dissenting, could you please make yourself known? I see nothing. So thank you very much. John Selgren, would you like to confirm a minded to decision?
Thank you, Chairman. And I've John Selgren, Executive Director for Place. I've read the report. I've listened to your discussion this morning and noted the comments that have been made and your endorsement of the strategy and guidance that is contained within the paper. So on the basis of that, I'm taking a mind to decision on delegation to implement that policy and strategy with immediate effect. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. OK, we'll move on to item number 7, which is our committee forward plan. Does anybody wish to speak or have any thoughts or comments at all? No. OK, thank you. And number 8, urgent items. I have not been notified of any unless anything has happened in the meanwhile. And number 9 is exempt business, and we do not have any. So with that, do you know, I think this meeting's only taken about 17 minutes. Well done, everybody, and I can confirm this meeting is officially closed.